Hello, and welcome to another episode of Purlfect Pairings. My name is Gayanne, she, her.
And my name's Nicole, and my pronouns are she and her. And before we start today, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're filming, which is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay our respect and respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We'd also like to acknowledge the often fraught relationship between the Australian farming industry and traditional land rights, and acknowledge and really respect the amazing contribution of Aboriginal people to the fibre industry throughout the millennium. So, Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas in July!
It's at least Christmassy type of weather here in Australia at the moment. It's cold and we're wearing sweaters, which is much different to our usual Christmas. But this episode, we thought it was a great chance to talk about yarn advents.
And kind of reflect about how far we've come, because if you have followed us from the beginning, you will have seen me wake up every morning at about 6 a.m. and then turn the camera on and roll
And
footage of
So we pretty much started this vlog, I can't remember the exact starting date. It was about the 12th of December or early December, I think, was our first episode went live. And last year, Gayanne purchased the Black Elephant UK yarn advent, and you were so pumped to get started with the podcast that you decided to film your yarn advent opening every day.
Yes, it's part of Vlogmas, right? Which is a thing where podcasters like us do something every day in the lead up to the Christmas holiday.
So I think now might be the time to have a look at that little Vlogmas that we did last year.
I know.
So this is Gayanne's first editing effort, I have to say.
Yeah.
And look, I don't think we need to say any more.
Let's
tune in for about 7 minutes of yarn advent from last year.
enjoy.
More idea of the color. The reason, look at that, purples and gold.
Ooh, the suspense. Oh wow, that's nice.
So nice.
Oh my gosh, we're starting to see some greens in there too.
Yeah, and there's some lovely purple and kind of this almost fluorescent yellow. That's gorgeous.
Well, it's picking up on, so this was yesterday's color. I haven't shown that to you yet. So it's picking up on that yellow, I think, and just making it a bit brighter. And the blue here has picked up that same.
I'll back that up. It's looking a bit orangey in this light. Pattern is coming out. It's beautiful. It starts with these garter stitches. There's a double moss section, more garter. Just that magenta is fantastic. Here is the day 6 colorway. Pop this guy out. Because this color is really interesting. It's almost a blended see, it's a little bit better. You can see there's more magentas, a lighter of the cantaloupe type color, and I know that this will be beautiful in the pattern. So look at how this is knitting up in this fade. So here it is. It's that beautiful pinky peach color The flecks of like dark green and blue, absolutely stunning. And it's a beautiful pale pink with these streaks of gold and green, which is absolutely, oops, this side, full of beautiful texture. There's another brioche section, and then I'll be done with this first triangle. And then, how beautiful is this color? Here we go. And it's got the green. Look at this beauty. This is, I feel like I would describe the base as like a candy pink. And it's just got these really vibrant purples and hot pinks. And then we pick up again some of the blues from the other skeins. And then over here, I found a little bit of hint of that green kind of brown that we've seen sprinkled through the other days, and just exquisite. So here's the pink. You've got these bright blues, these almost neon kind of pops of pink, but then you've also got these twists of brown. And look at that. It's this pinky purple, kind of lavender, but look at the golden streaks. There's much more blue. Now, it's just been a delight to knit this pattern. I can't believe I've gotten so much done. So look at this. It is beautiful. So purples with these streaks of brown, and there's actually, here it is. It's this luscious purple with gold. And there's, you start with this triangle, which I finished yesterday, and then from the thought to put together purple with these beautiful magenta streaks, but it also has these olive streaks that you can hopefully see here, coming through here. Look at this. And tea, yarn and tea that match. 19, which is a beautiful lavender with gorgeous gold and pinks, making a bit of an orange there. The blues that we have seen. It's just another exquisite color. Triangle. I wish Nicole was here to help me hold this, but this is the wing. And how spectacular are those colors knitting up? So from the bottom, there's a garter stitch, a honeycomb brioche, another garter stitch, and the double moss, and I'm about. Then off each end of the triangle, there are these wings. And I am just loving these pinks. A lavender base with these absolutely beautiful magenta, purple, blue, and these bright yellow. Here, there's a big section of it. Bright yellow. Really thoughtful design for this yarn advent. And look at this baby. Out it comes. This is the most beautiful, dusty, gray lavender color. Look at this, green neon. Fantastic. And the purple, I love that. Look at this, color 21, darker, you'll see. And there are still some green, not as neon, they're more of a grass green, similar to the blanket that's over my chair. But it's these dusky lavender. How about that? There's the color with these beautiful autumnal browns, oranges, greens, yellows. It's unbelievable. Look at this. Do you want to show the
Yes.
end?
All right. Ta-da!
number 24. So,
Well, wasn't that special?
Oh my gosh, literally every morning before, like, Larry would take the dog for a walk and I'd record. Good morning.
And it was, you know, look, I like to look back on that and appreciate the editing that we have now. I like to appreciate, I guess, just our comfort with the camera as well.
Yeah.
But it's lovely to have those things to look back on. And look, it is a really fun.
And I did it every day, right? So it was the consistency of the practice as opposed to having like a perfect edited, beautiful video, right? You saw the real me every morning. Straight out of bed, sometimes before I had a sip of tea. So
as she was editing it, I was getting text messages going, "Oh my God, my hair."
Yeah. It's a force to be reckoned with on the best of times, but yeah, I didn't really think about that so much then.
Well, spoiler alert. These are the shoals.
Check this out. How beautiful is this? Black Elephant does some of the most beautiful colors, and the fade that was put together for this year's Advent, which was her last. Unfortunately, there won't be any more Black Elephant Advents, but she is doing some incredible kits and fade sets that she's been putting out every month since then. But they're just exquisite.
And so what was it about the Black Elephant kit that particularly attracted you?
I liked her colors. I liked a lot of the speckling and some of the variegation that she was doing, as well as the fact that it was the last one that she was doing, and it came with a pattern from Unwind Knitwear. I think it's Rachel Elsley or Isley, who is the creator behind Unwind Knitwear, and she does beautiful patterns, and this one is no exception. It is simple yet engaging, so there are some simple parts, some simple garter stitch sections, as well as honeycomb brioche, which is my favorite, 2-color brioche and some 1-color brioche sections, a bit of moss stitch. It's just fantastic.
And so you saw a bit of Gayanne's shawl on the video as we went through. I'm obviously wearing one too.
Because there was enough for 2.
So when she had finished with her yarn, I got the leftovers, and now I couldn't do the same fade. I did a lot of maths though. It was very good. My maths teacher father would be very proud. And I went through and worked out how much yarn I had left from all of the different colours and where that would fit into what I needed in order to complete the pattern. And so I have same, but quite different, and just a really beautiful, different version of the shawl. And we'll show some close-ups of those two together. Yeah. You can also see in the close-ups some difference in our gauge.
For sure.
But this was a beautiful pattern.
Did you enjoy knitting it?
I really enjoyed knitting it because, I mean, you're getting to change colour all the time, which is something I always find really exciting and really engaging when I'm knitting. But also playing around with the different stitches, moving from honeycomb brioche is such a fun stitch. So
fun.
Regular brioche, and then just moving between the stitches and working through a bit of a fade. And, such a beautiful pattern.
Yeah, and that was actually the first time I've worked with a fade, so that was another thing that I hadn't done before. And Petra's colors, because they were so beautifully done, it was almost like you couldn't make a mistake. You couldn't.
They kind of, well, particularly for yours, the fade was also part of the work was done for you.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
think.
great.
Yeah.
It's great, just beautiful.
So, Black Elephant is no longer available.
No, so where were you going to get a advent this year?
Well, we've done some research for you. Now, we should flag that we are filming, today is the middle of winter, the 1st of July in Australia, and I apologise for the waning light, but that is our way in Melbourne.
I know.
So when this episode goes live, we cannot promise that all of these kits are still available, but you will, I guess, get to appreciate the beauty that we experienced at the time of filming.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the interesting thing about Advents is that a lot of them go on sale quite early. I started to see things pop up around April.
I think you need to start, if there's a particular dyer that you are attracted to and want their kit, you may need to plan ahead quite early. And I think it's a lot of that's due to what goes into creating a color, a 24 color set. And if that's going to be done from conception to practical dyeing, in addition, a lot of people put into their kits little extras and bits and bobs that they gather from other local businesses. So there's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot of logistics.
Yes. Plus shipping.
There is a need to allow time for shipping because obviously it needs to get to the recipients before the 1st of December.
And if you look even at how it's packaged, like the one that I had from Black Elephant last year, it was each color was in its respective little spot behind its window. So
there's a bit more that goes in.
It takes a lot of time and care.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are often Advents available last minute.
There are. And sometimes
certainly local yarn stores often
have
some last minute ones.
Our local yarn shop last year, so Maker, had kits from Circus Tonic.
Yes, they had a collaboration.
In store.
Yep.
Maybe I don't know if they're doing that again this year, but there's always last minute options. So if you miss out and get some significant FOMO in the lead up to the 1st of December, there's hope.
Anyway, we have put together a little bit of a list for you. Now, this is, I will flag, a bit Australia-centric at the moment because obviously that's where we're based. We did put a call out on Instagram for other suggestions. I don't know that we heard many, but it might just be that many of our followers are Australian as well. So there's lots of lovely yarn advents, but here are some that were available at the time of filming.
Yep. The first one is, drumroll please, Louie and Makes. So it's one of our favorite yarn shops down in Hastings on the Mornington Peninsula. And Julie puts together, she's got actually I think 5 different colorway options, and the yarn is from various dyers that they stock at Little Woolly. And I think she does some scrappy packs as well. So I'm thinking that if it's as exciting as the scrappy packs, you will not be disappointed.
What I really love about Little Woolly's selection is that she's put together these gorgeous mood boards for each of the 5 to kind of give you the vibe of the Advent. So you can pick one that suits either your preferences or your recipient.
Because that's the thing with an Advent, right? You put a lot of trust in the dyer or the person putting it together.
And they're not inexpensive.
No, it's a bit of an investment.
So those are,
So having
really,
the mood boards are...
really beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, and most of the dyers do that with their beautiful mood boards. But I do love... I guess the flexibility of the local yarn store, and that they can, because they're sourcing from a wider range of dyers and not trying to do all of the dyeing themselves, that there's some lovely colour palettes, a range of options of colour palettes that they're working with.
All right, so this advent has not been announced yet, at least as at the time that we're filming, but we know it's coming. So this is a hot tip. If you want to get an advent, that's all right. So I'm going to give this away as well. So Tess, I'm sorry if you didn't want me to give this away. It's a 12-day advent. So it will be, I think probably in a different price category that as opposed to a 24-day advent.
Well, and I think some of the ones that we're talking about do have 12 or 24-day options as well. So
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
That's true. Sorry, this is a longest introduction to
Let's
Fluff and
talk-
Nonsense, who are doing an advent. We have it on good authority.
So Fluff and Nonsense is quite a new dyer on the scene, but lives locally, relatively locally to us.
Yeah.
A really, really, really passionate, creative.
Oh, she's incredible.
yeah.
So Tess has a scientific background, so she approaches her colors in a very technical way, but just translates into some glorious, glorious yarn.
Yeah. So we look forward to seeing what Fluff and Nonsense comes up with, and she's not doing that many. So
No, they'll be
if
limited.
you are, have a look at her website to get a bit of a vibe for what she's doing. If the advent's not yet available, and if you are keen on nabbing one of her kits,
Jump on it.
yeah, I think they're due to be announced relatively soon. Not kits, calendars.
Okay. Yeah, it is kind of a kit. I was happy with kit.
All right, so the next one.
One of my favorite dyers who, again, I love her speckles, is Hodgepodge Skeins, and they have an advent now out, which is ocean themed, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm guessing lots of blues and greens in that one. We'll have to wait and see.
Right?
We'll have to wait and see.
I know. And then another one that we've heard about recently is VK yarns. And one of the really special or unique things about VK yarns is they have an advent that is specifically non-protein yarn. So cottons, I think it's mostly cotton.
Yeah, so if you or someone you know has a sensitivity to wool-based, or if you're looking for something for a vegan knitter or crocheter, then VK Yarns does a lot of cotton-based yarns and has a beautiful colour range. A really incredible colour range. And with the VK Yarns Advent, you can choose either a protein or a
wool-based,
like a wool-based or a cotton-based Advent. So it does just give you a lot of extra different options. And she goes into really vibrant colour selections, which is fabulous.
It looks, from what she's been posting on Instagram, it looks very rainbow, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things about
I think it's
VK.
sunset theme.
Was it? Sunset?
Yeah, really vibrant, really vibrant.
And another one which is sort of new to me, I'm pretty sure it's not new, but newer to me. I first really noticed them at She's Crafty Market back in May. And it's called FibreSmith. And I think they're out in the west of Melbourne.
Yep.
And when I saw the yarn at She's Crafty, I was very impressed. I love the kind of muted colorways that they have, and the yarn just felt beautiful. And a number of people, when we put the call out on Instagram, indicated they were like, the response was immediate. They're like, FibreSmith has an advent.
I think FibreSmith has again some different color palette selections, don't they? Three different color palettes, all in that quite muted, more natural, maybe fade looking vibe. Who knows? It's a mystery, but yeah. So there's some really beautiful stuff there, and they are FibreSmiths. So they do I think I saw on their website a fabric advent as well.
So if you have a quilter on your gift list.
So that's another beautiful choice.
And the last one I want to highlight is already unfortunately sold out. But from time to time, even when kits do sell out, sometimes like there might be a limited quantity still available. Maybe, I don't know.
Do you have some insider knowledge on this?
Not really.
Oh,
Not
okay.
really. It's just more about experience.
Okay, right.
Not necessarily with this particular dyer,
Okay,
but
all right.
other times I have seen what seemed to be sold out, but then comes available.
You might just have to bookmark it for next year.
That's right. And that's Louie and Lola, Karina out of Tasmania, who does exquisite colors and a beautiful advent. And I think if you just do some creative hashtag searching on Instagram, you can see the colors. Maybe we can even find a photo of the colors that she had from 2022. Because it was just gorgeous. I think somebody actually made an anthology throw, and it might have been Karina, which we'll talk about, I think, in a little bit. But that's epic. All right, now, if you have seen some of our previous episodes, you will know how much I love to curate patterns, different patterns, collect them, organize them into my bundles so that I have them handy when I get something like an advent and I want to make something. So it should come as no surprise to you that I have curated a list of patterns that will be fantastic for an advent kit.
She sure has.
Or set.
Including this gorgeous pattern.
This has to be
will
at the
link.
top of the list.
Yep.
Because it's so efficient in terms of the use. You can get multiple things out of it. You could probably have made the original shawl and then, I don't know, a couple of pairs of socks at least.
Yeah,
perhaps.
there was a tiny little bit left after.
We have it,
After mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, shall I start?
Yes,
All right.
let's.
So there's two Australian designers that I want to highlight who are basically the queens. I'm going to call them the joint queens of potential advent knits.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is, drumroll, Amber O'Brien. You can take probably at least half of her patterns and turn them into an advent pattern, whether that's for a complete set of 24 or if you have partial sets. A few patterns that I want to highlight, the first actually, which is my favorite, and is the Radvent cardigan. And it is a fade cardigan. Sorry, I'm just gonna put my arm out like this. It is a fade cardigan that goes from here all the way up. It's got a bit of a, I think it's called a dolman sleeve, like a sleeve. It's cropped, and then the fade goes to the middle and then down the other sleeve. And I think that is the best pattern. And in fact, I bought my mother this advent set for her Christmas present, and guess what? She hasn't made the shawl yet. And I was thinking that I might be able to steal back the advent so that I can make the advent cowl. And I just had to apologize because my mother watches our episodes literally the second they come out, so I won't have time to.
No, she will have hidden it by the
She
time
will. She
you
will have
next
hidden
go
it.
and visit.
But that's okay. Maybe she'll actually make one for me,
Oh,
and that would be even better.
there you go.
A couple other of Amber's patterns that I really like are the Lamina wrap and the Adventuresome cowl.
Mm-hmm.
But she literally has a plethora of advent patterns. You basically just have to search in Ravelry if that's available to you for advent. Or I think she actually has them. Does she have a separate website?
I'm not sure if I think she does have a separate website, but certainly around Christmas time, as you're leading up to Christmas, she puts a lot of stuff on Instagram and really gets the word out there about her beautiful patterns. And there's such variation in patterns from her as well. So there's lots and lots of options depending on what your vibe is, and also depending on what sort of some things like the cardigan that you were just talking about are more suited for a fade, but some of the other ones really celebrate those pops of color.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the second designer that I want to talk about is Helen Stewart, who is just a national treasure for Australia in terms of knitting and designs. I think it was 2022, part of her knit vent. She has a knit vent every year where she brings out these patterns. I think the point is that they're kind of smallish and you can knit them in the lead up to Christmas. They also oftentimes will avail themselves to minis, the kind of things that you would get in the Advent sets in any event. But the anthology throw,
it went wild last year. It was all over Instagram.
And another Australian knit vlogger, Kylie G, who is up in Queensland, has just finished hers. And I think she mentioned it was over 1,000 stitches. It's knit from the center out. And I just thought about how when I did that other crescent shaped shawl, it was like 660 stitches, and I thought I was going to go mad when I did that.
That's like a knitting marathon.
It would be incredible even just to do one row.
Yeah. But it's such a beautiful pattern.
Stunning. It's stunning.
Yeah.
What else that Helen does? There's another one called the Ever After Shawl that I think is beautiful. And I also wanted to highlight the Hearten Cowl, which I think is a delight as well and will also suit your Advents.
Absolutely. And then sometimes there are patterns that aren't designed necessarily for Advents that work very well for Advents.
That's right.
So a big one, Stephen West, which we talk a lot about. He has a number of painting waves shawls, painting honeycombs. He has actually a whole book on painting shawls. So different kinds of shawls where you effectively have a main color and then little windows. Painting bricks is another one that he does.
That's right.
So they would work really well with Advent calendars, particularly if you're willing to be bold and kind of play around with some different colours, and you've got colours that might not necessarily go perfectly next to each other, but might go nicely in a bit of a rainbow vibe, because you do have that separating colour in between.
Yeah.
And I have made the painting honeycombs toddler blanket previously, and that was a really delightful pattern to work with.
And that actually comes, I think, in a 4-ply version and an 8-ply version, so depending on the weight of your Advent set, you would still be okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
Now there's a few more probably lesser known designers that have some Advent patterns that I found. And the first one, I just read the name, not only of the pattern, but the designer. And I was like, we just have to talk about this. So the designer is under the name Swanky Emu Makes. And at first I was like, oh my God, it's got to be Australian, right? Emu.
I would say emu.
Oh.
But that's okay.
That's all right.
We have an international audience. Just translating for the other Aussies that like to really chew the U's.
I can't.
Emu. Swanky Emu Makes. Anyway, back to the
because
name.
she's American, she's gonna call it Swanky Emu Makes.
Yeah,
anyway, the pattern, which is just as fantastic, top-down sweater, is called the Tannin Boom.
It is so much fun.
Such a delight. Oh my gosh.
And it's a riot of colour. The one in the photo is an absolute riot of colour.
It's fantastic.
And just using all kinds of, like, you could if you embrace color the way Swanky Emu Makes does, then you could use any advent for it. There's beautiful stitches in there, and it's a completely size inclusive design.
That's right. And I think it's also yarn independent of the weight of your yarn. So there's something in the description. I haven't bought the pattern at this stage, but in the description she talks about the calculations that you need to make the sweater in any weight. Which is amazing.
And size inclusive.
And
even has some guides for adapting to different body shapes as well. So so good.
Tan and Boom. I just love that name.
So good.
Okay. And the next one, I loved this pattern as well because of how it separates the colors like you were talking about. It just makes them into blocks. So if you have colors that are different and don't necessarily fade as tidily as this set did, it's the Brick Lane Shawl by FibreSmith Designs. And I don't know, I just felt like this pattern was also easy on the eyes. It's just, and it looks like it would be a very calming knit.
It's more subtle than Stephen's painting brick kind of vibe. But a really elegant knit.
And wearable.
Very
too,
wearable.
like really wearable. Then coming back to Australia, another fave of ours, Jackie Verbeek. And I feel like we may have talked about this shawl
I feel like
before.
we have.
But it's called Sun Scraps. And it's, Jackie says in the description that it's really about a recipe on how to make the shawl basically this shape, as well as using the yarns together. And it's suitable for, again, any weight of yarn. So if you get a 4-ply or an 8-ply advent, you'll be able to put something together, and you could stripe it as well. Again, similar to
and it's got the one in the picture's got quite a lovely mold effect.
It does. It does. It's quite and it's quite vibrant too.
Very,
I just love it.
very, very bright colours.
We love that one.
And then the last one we just want to highlight is Stephanie Lochman, who makes under Telly Bean Knits. And she has a few cowl designs, cowl, I should say, not cowl, cowl, sorry, Australian accent, designs that could be used with Advent calendars, but the one that I particularly want to highlight is the little leftovers, which she specifically says is very suitable for the leftovers that you might have, either just in your stash or after maybe making something else with your Advent. And it's just a really fun, stripy, colourful cowl with some nice interesting stitches in there just to kind of keep it interesting. And she does beautiful stripy patterns. We talked about some of her work in our interview with Danny from Half Baked Hand Dyed, so episode 15. She's the designer that does the sock arms sweater that you often see us wearing.
She's got quite a catalogue of shawls as well that use, I think some of them use, quite a few of them use minis as striping type elements. So another great resource for your Advent sets. So I've got a little bit of fun to play with. I thought we might have a little bit of fun with color. So this is the Advent set that I got in 2021, which I haven't used yet, and I'm going to apologize to June from Fortune Yarn Company for not knitting it up yet. I had some plans, but some other projects got in the way, and it's a delight. So I thought we might just kind of have a look.
So Fortune Yarn Company is from
She
South Australia?
was in South Australia, but I think she's in Northern Territory now. Anyway,
I tell you what,
these colors.
a box of little twisty things is so, you just want to dive in there, don't you?
Right? So my idea, there's lots of different color palettes here, right? And I didn't think that I would wear one garment made out of all of it, right? So I have kind of...
It's so beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful? I have kind of, I think that would be enough paired with some white. Right? How lovely does that look?
Very, very minty, kind of sorbet kind of vibe.
And I don't have anything like that. And that was the other thing that I loved about this yarn advent, is that it really lent itself to kind of some color groups. So there was this kind of minty, sea foamy group. There's
a bit of a burnished kind of vibe going on. Oh, that's quite Monet painting with the blue and the yellow. There's some purpley vibes.
And they just really lent itself to
lots of
smaller projects.
Yeah, absolutely. Gorgeous. So what are you thinking of doing with this?
So I was thinking of, I think painting waves. I thought with the white or the honeycombs. I thought, and I think it was either 6 or 8, and I think we could actually add. Maybe that one.
I mean, the thing is, when you've got a separating color, it does look entirely different as well. So you've got a lot more flexibility. Even you could go into brighter pinks if you wanted to.
And I know we've played with this set before, and you have put them all together.
I totally could. You can see the range a bit better there. I totally could do a fade with those. It would be bold colours, but we know that I like those. Whereas you tend to like colour families a little bit more.
A bit more, I don't want to say subtle, but like muted? No, that's not the right word either.
Just not quite so ridiculous, maybe. Not that there's anything wrong with ridiculous.
No. You just knit what you love, right? And that you will wear because I think time and time again, aren't they fun? Minis are great. Time and time again, I think I've said if you like, we invest so much time into knitting, you just want to have a garment or an object that you love.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well,
we've had quite a bit of feedback actually. We do read all of your comments, and we've had some lovely feedback that you would like some more recommendations about books. So
I have another one for you. Now, it's loosely Christmas themed. A book about Christmas, they can get a bit cheesy. This
like
one...
Hallmark movie?
This is a book. So, full disclosure, I have a big trip planned, bit of a lifetime yearning trip planned next year to go to Ireland, Scotland and England, which is where my family are from. I don't have any known family over there anymore because all of my family members came over in the early 1800s, so we've lost contact. But I have a fascination with all things Irish particularly. So when searching for Irish books about novels from Irish writers, I came across this lovely book. It's called There's Been a Little Incident by Alice Ryan. And it's not about Christmas, but it is set around Christmas time. And what I really loved about it is it's a rollicking good read. I highly recommend, if you like audiobooks, to listen to the audiobook version, which I borrowed from my local library. Because it's read by a woman with the most beautiful Irish accent as
fantastic.
well. So it was gorgeous to listen to.
Yeah.
But it's a rollicking book about an Irish family, a very large Irish family, and the way they deal with an incident, which is probably more than a little incident. I won't give too much away.
No spoilers.
But it is set just sort of around Christmas and just after Christmas time that the story begins. And it's actually just a really heartwarming exploration of families, which we all know are very stressful things around. Well, for most of us, can be quite stressful around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But it acknowledges that, but then it also really brings back a lovely sense of being part of a community, which in this case is a family community. So it's a really lovely book, and yes, the audiobook version is lush with that Irish accent. It's so beautiful.
I think it's time for our pairing.
I think so.
Here we go.
Middle of winter, cozy knitting. You want a spicy, warming beer. So we've picked out a stout.
A stout.
So tell us, you recently
Yes.
visited an area where this is from?
So last month, so back in June, I think it was, or because it was around Worldwide Knit in Public Day, I got out of the city and went to, it's called Johanna.
Mm-hmm.
I think locals might call it Jana. Anyway.
In the
know.
Otways?
Yes,
So
it is in the Otways.
West of Melbourne.
West of Melbourne.
About 3 hours west of Melbourne.
Yep, and along the coast.
So quite close to the Great Ocean Road, if you've heard
was.
of that.
Yes, and we did some lovely walks, and if you follow us on Instagram, you will have seen where I knit in public, by a waterfall. But
And you obviously visited a brewery?
we did on our way out of town, because we were quite busy I wanted to do lots of walking while we were there, but we stopped in at this brewery, and they have beer and cider, and I think they have some gin as well, which maybe we'll highlight on another time.
So this is the Prickly Moses, and it's
Yes.
called the Otway Stout.
Yep.
So based on where it's from.
Yep, and I picked it out because it's got kind of coffee and toffee and caramel type flavors.
Sounds like it would be delicious to drink with some chocolate or maybe some pudding. Would it go with pudding?
Definitely. And the other thing is, like with stout, for me, one is plenty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just nice to kind of sip through the evening while you're doing some craft and
Hopefully nothing too challenging.
No.
Although it's not very strong alcohol. So.
No, it's all good. I know, but occasionally for me it's not an everyday kind of beverage, but from time to time, and when it's cool outside, I think they're quite cozy and
They're very
tasty.
cozy. Yeah. I drink a bit of stout. Yeah. Not infrequently. Well, friends, that is our Christmas in July.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess not particularly Christmassy, because we don't really do a lot of Christmas in July here. But hopefully it's inspiring for when Christmas does come around to focus on some of the joyous parts like Advent calendars.
I don't know. So coming from the Northern Hemisphere, it's always, well, not really strange when Christmas is warm, but it's nice to do, your standard kind of roast dinners and things when it is cold.
Yeah.
Now. So,
Yeah.
I quite like having a bit of,
Do you do a Christmas in July?
not a formal one,
No.
but we do lots of
Christmas foods.
Christmas
Traditional
foods or
Christmas foods.
slow cooked,
Yeah.
kind of meaty dishes, those types of things. So throughout the winter.
So hopefully if you were thinking about getting an Advent.
I think you'll need to jump on it.
Yeah.
On it pretty soon.
Yeah. And maybe there were some that we featured today that you might enjoy. And look, I think those patterns are fabulous little finds, whether you're doing an advent or not.
Even if you just have some scraps in your stash
Who
that you need to
doesn't
use
have
up.
scraps in their stash?
Mm.
My goodness, so many scraps. So, so much stash. So if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up. We would love you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get more of this content. We also love your comments.
Please comment if you have, if there's any other particular patterns for advents or mini sets that you think we should know about.
And please tell your friends if you enjoy what we do so that we can grow our channel. And you can also find us on Instagram at Purlfect Pairings.
Yep.
Well, happy knitting.
Yes, until we see you again.